Welcome to the Cincinnati Art Museum's CAM Look. Each Tuesday and Thursday, a staff member or volunteer will share an object from the permanent collection and pose questions for the discussion. Check back every Tuesday and Thursday for a new work and a new conversation. Hi, I'm Helen Rindsberg, a docent at the museum.
Hi, I'm Kristin Spangenberg. I'm curator of prints and the caretaker of this wonderful print.
We discovered we have a common obsession.
We like to collect images of Hokusai's iconic print. It is popularly called the Great Wave, but the name that it is known by is the Great Wave of Kanagawa.
It's probably the most used and abused artwork in the world, even ahead of the Mona Lisa by Da Vinci and Munch's The Scream.
This print was published sometime between 1829 and 1833. It was announced in an ad in the back of a book by the publisher. And its title of the series is 36 Views of Mount Fuji. But the ad said it was estimated to be 100 views. In the end, it ended up being 46 views of Mount Fuji. Now, Hokusai, in his training in his late teens, was apprenticed to an engraver. And of course, his talent continued through his career. This set was done around his 70th birthday. It uses a pigment which was real hot on the Japanese market, a Prussian blue that came from Germany through China, because at that time Japan wasn't open to the Western traders, America and Europe. Mount Fuji is considered sacred and a symbol of the national identity today. You see in this print 3 boats that were used to transfer fish. Today, the harbor, Kanagawa, is northeast of Tokyo. The print was actually done in the collaborative fashion as Japanese prints were done at the time. The artist conceived the idea and the image. The carver cut the blocks, which usually were cherry wood, and the printer printed the print. And this was all coordinated by the publisher. In this print, the water is 3 shades of that Prussian blue. The boats are yellow. It is estimated that to market a print successfully, 2,000 impressions had to be printed. But based on the popularity of this subject, the estimated printing of this print was about 8,000 impressions. Thus, it's not surprising that in our late impression, the light blue block had to be replaced. And you will note in this print that instead of having a blue outline, it has a black outline. Again, an indication that it's a late print. And note that being a late impression, the crest of the wave, the outline is beginning to break down, as is the profile of Mount Fuji. So this wonderful print has been an inspiration to not only artists, but those who market.
When Japan reopened to Western trade in the 1850s, after 250 years of isolation, one of its first exports was art. In the 1870s, the Impressionists discovered Japanese woodblock prints. Claude Monet collected hundreds of them. Vincent van Gogh praised the quality of drawing and use of line in The Great Wave, and said that it had a terrifying emotional impact.
Claude Debussy kept a copy of The Great Wave in his studio. And when he published his original score in 1905 for his masterpiece, Les Mers, or The Sea, he requested that this image appear on the original cover.
I don't know when the Great Wave began to be plastered on so many consumer products, but I've been collecting these crazy things since about 1984 when I first visited Japan.
I became aware of Japanese art in 1957 when my father, an electrical engineer, toured Japan giving lectures and brought back art books. Recently, I began collecting Great Wave items from our CAM gift shop. Today, we are going to have some fun showing you some of the amazing items we have collected.
So, of course, we have a folding fan, which was invented in Japan.
It's not surprising that handkerchiefs have an image of the Great Wave.
My husband gave me something that I keep with me all the time on my cell phone, and although it's very tiny, there's an emoji that I frequently use of the Great Wave.
Yes, this week I went down to check out what our Cincinnati Art Museum shop had, and they had this fanny pack. And it is also where I keep my business cards.
And what would an iconic image be without many versions on t-shirts? These are just two in my collection from my grandchildren.
And it's possible that the Great Wave can be in 3 dimensions, as in this little piece. Now, Helen, this is a test. Who are the artists represented here?
Well, on this folder, of course, we have a beautiful Great Wave. And then coming out of the Great Wave is Shiraku's kabuki actor. But as a cat person, I love Kunisada's magical cats dancing around the wave.
Daily, here at the museum, I have a mouse pad which has the Great Wave on it. And so it is always in the forefront of my mind.
My husband and I have matching Great Wave COVID masks. And for the piece de la resistance, underwear. Actually, I have 2 versions, but this one is the more colorful one. I also collect digitally altered, for better or worse, images of the Great Wave. Here are just a few of my favorites. First up, inspired by the Japanese classic Godzilla. On a lighter note, the Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. There are many numbers of animal takeoffs, but I'm a cat person. A tribute to Hokusai's admirer, Vincent van Gogh. From one of my favorite cartoonists, Brian Bassett, a pool party. And for fans of 3D, a Lego Great Wave.
Japanese currency generally has portraits of famous Japanese, but in 2024, the 1,000 banknote will feature the Great Wave.
And soon to increase my knowledge of this Japanese icon, the Great Wave now has its own biography. I hope that you enjoyed our swim through the uses and abuses of Hokusai's Great Wave. Where do you see famous artworks on consumer products, mugs, t-shirts, and the like? And you have a collection of your own with these crazy things.
One of the craziest, however, is,
Ta-da!